It's two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? Yeah, one of my favorite people in the world, Dr. Loren. So glad to be here with you.
Ditto.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. I am grateful to be with you. Man, again, yeah, that we'll never forget the epic Red Pill XP event. Guys, you got to go to the next one. If I assume this will come out before the next one, in the end of March, show up, be there. I would be there, but I'll be out with my family doing things together with them. So otherwise, I would attend to the next one. So we had an amazing connection there. I had amazing connection with a bunch of people, but especially with Dr. Loren. And we just met each other, and we spent, I think, 2-3 hours or something talking with each other. So it was really cool. And he's just a fascinating guy. So amazing heart, amazing energy, amazing love. I'm so grateful for you, my friend.
And I'm blushing. You just can't tell.
Yep, I could tell.
You can? I really am. And I'm trying not to look over there. Can I just tell everybody? Okay, so I'm on my phone because we're having internet issues here in the greater Chicagoland area. And I'm on my phone, and I'm trying to do a good job of looking at the camera and giving you guys a great experience. So bear with me. I'm so happy to be here, Danielle. You're my bud from RPXP. We had so much fun.
Yes. Yeah. You were the MC and everything. I really appreciated how you were just so, I don't know, so awesome. Just so awesome.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, all your awesome energy, the way you totally love people up and help guide the whole thing. And yeah, it's really, and just all our conversations, really treasured that more than anything. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're here talking about men stuff, men and mental health. Yeah. Man.
Damn straight.
Show that male energy, right?
Oh my God, I'm worn out. I'm exhausted just from that. Okay.
All right, that's enough, right? You're funny.
Ooh, enough of that.
Right. You make me laugh a lot too.
Men stuff.
Always helpful.
Yeah. So how about those Packers?
How about those Packers, baby? They're already out of the playoffs. Are you a Packers fan? Are you a Packers fan? Don't tell me you're a Packers fan now.
Okay, I can't help it. I'm going to say you don't ask a gay guy that. I promise no more, you guys. I promise.
Packers fans.
I tried to go somewhere else, but it was like too good.
That is hilarious.
Now you see why we were hanging out for 3 straight hours when we met.
Right. Oh my God. Go on forever.
I don't follow football much. Okay. Back in the day when I was pretending to be heterosexual, i.e. a breeder, I used to bet on games so that the guys around me would, well, he doesn't like to watch them, but he bet, so no suspicion there. But anyway, no, but I am looking forward to the Olympics this summer.
Okay.
You?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I don't really follow the Olympics. I do follow.
You don't watch any?
Well, I watch it a little bit, yeah. Totally.
Okay, what do you watch?
I catch a little bit of action here and there, but I don't.
Swimming, diving. gymnastics,
Yeah, I'll watch some of it, but I don't
volleyball.
like, I'm not like, okay, oh my God, I'm so into this. Like it's not like that for me.
Yeah, like where people come over and you have hors d'oeuvres and stuff.
Right.
No, I don't either. I don't either. But wait, what about Super Bowl?
Super Bowl, if someone's throwing a good party, I'll go and get into it. Otherwise, I tend to not get into it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't. That's how I am. I don't know. Because I think there's so much hype about it. I'm kind of a counterbalance to that sometimes. There's a
Yes.
good party going on. Yeah, let's go. I'll get all into it then.
I don't know why, but I just had a feeling that you won't be watching the Super Bowl. You'll be doing something far more important, like, I don't know, getting fitted for a beekeeper's outfit.
Something much more meaningful, of course, much more spiritual, probably.
Next to my husband, I love you the most because you laugh at my jokes.
So that's the key. You gotta be able to laugh at my jokes, or we're done.
That's right. I could ride in. I could do a road trip with you.
Yeah.
We'd laugh all the way. Yes, but in road trips, that's something guys do.
Yeah.
My Air Force buds and I do it once a year. We try to. We're not as since COVID, but we used to go like to on fishing trips and things once a year. It was fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know we should do one.
Yeah, totally. I need more of that in my life for sure.
I do too.
Yeah. And we've got the spring coming up. Get outside, play some tennis, maybe, right?
Oh yeah, with Mark Haddis and get the fourth person and play doubles. Yes,
I heard about you guys. I heard you ain't all that good, so I'll have to come sharpen you all up.
Who said we weren't? Mark.
Mark says you aren't all that good.
See,
maybe
he said that because that's how he tricked you.
To get my hopes up, right? Like I'm gonna whip all your butts.
That's how he tricked me. Oh, I'm horrible. Come and play with me.
Yeah, he's one of those kind of guys for sure, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, he was on too. So yeah, I mean, all this masculine energy, what are we gonna do with it? All right. I mean,
let's do something good with it. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, we've had so many guys on. I mean, there's so many different stories and backgrounds, perspectives people come from on this male journey. You know, for me, I was sort of somewhat rejecting of male stuff, you know, when I was growing up, and embracing it at the same time, because I was into sports and some, you know, prototypical guy stuff. But same time, I'm like, why is the guys like absolutely obsessed with cars and stuff like that? And I didn't really totally get that fascination all the time. Or I guess we played war a little bit as kids, you know, stuff that, you know, guys growing up at that time would do. And I don't know, some of the stuff I got into, some of it I wasn't into. I too was not into the ladies. I was just like, I mean, I was too like hyper aroused, actually. I was too shy. I was like, I am not going there. My sister got pregnant when she was in her 20s, and like while I was in high school still, and I was like, nope, I'm not touching a girl. Like, so I had a lot of bottled up energy. I wanted to.
Is that what they were calling it? Hyper aroused. Wow.
I was hyper aroused for sure. I'm putting a nice name on it, right?
Yes. And that terminology precedes the little blue pill. So they should put that in their commercial. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be hyper aroused? Pop one of these little babies. Anyway, we said we weren't going there. Yeah. I got to say this about the men's thing back early in my life. It's interesting because even though I knew what we were on here to talk about, I really hadn't fleshed it out or thought it out well, because you probably wouldn't have invited me. Because the thing is, well, you know, I was questioning a lot of things. And I'm saying, even before I entered the foster care system at 11, at age 11, even, you know, in my normal life, if you can call it that, yeah, I was already like being called sissy and stuff, even though I was a great softball player. I played all the games that guys and stuff played outside. I hit forts. I popped wheelies. I had match cars, and I also had Tonka trucks and that kind of stuff. And I loved it, you know. Mm-hmm. However, I also had a bakery business at age 10, with workers, really. I mean, I was a Shackley salesman at age 10, dealing with housewives, selling them spices. And the way I could sell them the spices was I would bake cupcakes and cakes and breads and things, and then cut samples up and go around, and they'd try them and go, oh, what is this flavor? Oh, that's my special maple flavoring. And I pull my little case out, right? Not
Budding
traditionally.
entrepreneur right there, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I really was. But I'm saying, while a lot of guys were like, kids were, playing flag football, or what was that thing they had back there, pass, punt, or kick. I did do one male thing in Cub Scouts. I did do the Pinewood Derby. Remember that?
No, because I wasn't in that Cub Scout stuff. Yeah.
Cub Scouts. I wasn't into that.
I was in it. See, there's another thing I was protesting. I ain't doing that stuff.
Oh my God. I loved Cub Scouts. I mean, well, the outfits were cool, the little hats and stuff.
I probably would enjoy it today, but I think I was in protest mode on all that stuff back then.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's where I hung out with most boys, was at Cub Scouts. Because outside of that, I was pretty much, I had my best friend Scott, and we would ride our bikes out, and we had a fort and things like that. We'd go fishing. But most of my male adventures as a boy took place in books. So like the Hardy Boys, I hung out with them every day. And I read on an average a Hardy Boy book at least once a week, at least one. And then after that, I switched to that lesbian, Nancy Drew. I'm just kidding. She wasn't a lesbian.
Okay, I never really read it, but I wasn't aware of that.
Well, because a lot of people that read one read the other. Nancy Drew, Hardy Boy Mysteries, they put them together. Yeah. And so my only way of justifying that I liked Nancy Drew, I had to say, well, clearly she's a lesbian. But anyway, that's for another show. But no, I didn't watch organized sports. I didn't play outside of softball, organized sports. I do remember the first time I thought I was different than most of the boys. And as a matter of fact, that's an article I think I just published maybe within the last year on LinkedIn. Yes, that was a shameless plug. But it was about when I'll never forget it. It's called diving or swimming in the shallow end of life. That's what that is called, in case you want to look it up. But it was all because I remember when I went to take swimming classes, and my mom had signed me up, and I was excited about it. I remember going and buying my navy blue swim trunks, and I was just really excited about it. And then we got there, and I was the last one out of the locker room for some odd reason. I was clearly getting cold feet. And I got out there, and all the kids were in the water, in the shallow end, and Donnie Winters was his name. He was the teacher. He was a high schooler. And he was like, come on, get in. And I was scared because for some reason, I just thought that even though it was 3.5 feet, I believe, I would drown. It was going to be over my head. And I was definitely taller than that, but not by much. So, but I remember the looks of the boys almost. That was when I first realized you could be judged. Really judged for not being a part of the majority. In other words, everyone else was in the water and I couldn't get in, and laughing started and this and the other. And I'll never forget how Donnie Winters came out of the water and came up to me because you don't have to jump in. You can sit there and dangle your feet over until you get used to the temperature of the water. It could be, you don't know if you're afraid of the depth of the water. You could be afraid. You could be ambivalent. He used that word because I had to ask my mom later what it meant. When it comes to the temperature, just because they say you're scared doesn't mean it's true. And so that was the beginning of that. And I did ease in, and that was for, what was that? Guppies. We were in guppies, then minnows. You know how they take you through the different levels of the swimming course. And but I made some of my best friends in that class. My best friend Scott was in that class. He wasn't my best friend when we started, but he was when we ended, and it continued to be so for many, 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 many years of my life. So yeah, very different for me, and then very different once I entered the system. And that's when it comes to mental health. that's really where I start having memories of male mental health or mental wellness or lack of either or. And that was upon entry into the foster system, because there was a lot of trauma that ensued once I entered those gates.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So I'm glad that you told us about what was going on before that. I mean, that there was these experiences of, yeah, I don't quite fit in, then again I kind of do, you know, that you had that kind of vibe. For me, I don't know, like I didn't even look at it that way, I guess. When you're really young, I don't know if I was consciously thinking of it that way, but I was thinking more in terms of, yeah, I was very focused, I think, on people liking me. So when people liked me, of course, like natural, right? Like, oh, people like me. Okay. I feel like I'm popular. Wow, this is good. And I've got 2 girlfriends, not even one, and I'm only like 8 years old or something. Like, I was starting young, you know, and they're coming to me, and I didn't even have to go after them. And and then I remember that, again, I told it on this show a million times. In the 5th grade, you know, like there's this kid I became friends with in 4th grade that was a year older. And then in 5th grade, I started pushing back on his desires for me to be a troublemaker together with him, which I went along with at first. And then I started saying no, and he turned on me, right? And then I had this experience of like kind of the middle finger up to the world and to this kid and everything, like, you know, silently, mostly. But I was just like, no, you know, I don't. What is it with because there's a guy, right? So these guys, this issue, right? And then a lot of times, I mean, I had guy friends, but you know, I just noticed, I think even at that age, around then, I noticed that, what is it? The girls just, they seem much more normal. Like they're, you know, they're nicer on average, and not all of them, obviously. Some of them are pretty nasty, but they just seem more normal or something to me. But
those ones that were nasty, those were called sisters.
called sisters.
Mine were.
Oh, right.
I
I
was
see.
debating.
Okay. Oh, the sisters. I got you now. Yeah.
Sisters. Yeah, not no, this kind. Shut up, you little squirt. That
Yeah.
kind of sister.
Okay. That kind of sister. We got it now.
Yeah.
Okay. We got it dialed in. But yeah, I mean, just I don't know. Yeah, I just felt this disconnected, and then I started acting out a little bit, like, oh, I can bully the weaker kids too. I did a little bit of that. I know you guys
You
are
were a bully?
a little bit, not that much. It's minor. Yeah.
What does
Like,
that mean? It was for like a week?
no, just here and there, like punching kids in the arm and stuff like that. Kids that are weaker, like, bang,
Oh, okay. So, in
bruises.
other words, you might push their face down in the water fountain, but you'd never go as far as sticking it in the toilet.
Yeah. I'd be saving those kids. Yeah. Because I would, right. Basically, I'd be like, leave that kid alone. Like, right. I would stand up for kids.
That's how I was. I would not fight for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get pushed around, but
Mm-hmm.
let it be for an underdog or a kid that I saw as weaker.
Yeah.
I would jump to it. No question. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, I could bully them, you know, but if you like go over the top with them, now I'm going to protect them. That's how weird it was.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just recalling all this now. I never thought of these things before. That's one of the things I love about this show. I start remembering things that I hadn't thought about. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. As long
So
as I
next
was
week on your
bullying them, it was
show,
okay. But if others were like taking it too far, then okay, we got to cut this out.
and then next time your show comes on, instead of you being there, they're going to put a thing up there and say, Daniel Hanneman will be back in an undisclosed amount of weeks, as he was severely triggered on last week's show and is now in respite, recovering from all the things he learned about himself on his own show last week.
Oh my God, it just blew my mind. I couldn't deal with it. Right?
I know. Well, you know, that's the thing about this word. I get it every day on my show. I walk away and I'm glad. I would be remiss if I didn't admit that much. That that's what I love about this work, being remembered to those things that are important in our journey, and as nothing else, mile markers as to how far we have truly come. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that was so the fifth grade thing was it was so weird because all he did was just get mad at me, and then he did do his bullying or whatever a little bit, but it was nothing that severe, really. But it just felt really bad. It felt like it was a specter in my life that I was just always on alert, like these kids come after me. I'm ready. I'll take them on. I'll take them all out. I'll kill them all if I have to. You know, like it was like being triggered, like a almost like a past life kind of thing. You
Oh,
know, reflex. You know, like I've been a killer before, and I can be one again if I need to. And
you don't want to open up this can of worms.
right,
So you're kind
exactly.
of like the Hulk.
Yeah,
Don't make
exactly,
me mad.
exactly.
You wouldn't like me mad.
Like I remember the kid, you know, that threw a snowball at my head as a younger kid. Around that, a couple years after that. And I remember I just turned around, I stared right at him. He just was frozen. He couldn't move because I would just give a death stare. I threw the kid to the ground and like, he was just like, like, he was smaller than me. Again, it wasn't like I was any big feat with this kid, but like it pinned him instantly. And I just started laughing like the devil in his face. And from that day forward, he was like, can't you,
That
he was
kind
a
of
little,
stuff.
I was like, like that.
So that reminds me of what was that movie? The movie, that Christmas movie that everybody likes, where the father has that ugly lamp that's a leg, and the kid sticks his tongue to the pole.
Oh, right. That part I remember. Yeah.
Remember when he got that kid down and was beating, and the mother came running, pulled him off, and he was just pummeling him. Was it kind of like that?
No, I didn't do anything. I just pinned him down. I just pinned him down, laughed like that. And then, but from that day forward, because he was always causing trouble, he's like, when he caused trouble, he'd come to me and be like, protect me, because
Oh,
because
because he saw the strong version of you.
he saw that strength. He's like, you can take care of it, right? Because I did. I was aware when I was younger. I always identified with what He-Man, right? That part with that whole saying, I've got the power, right? And so I'm like, I've got the power too. I don't know what it is, but I got this connection where I can make anything happen. It feels like anyway, right? Like I could do anything, and I would experiment with my friends at that, you know, throwing them around or whatever, things like that, and but that was
Were
my
you bigger than most of your friends or the boys like in your class, or were you smaller? I was always smaller.
thinner, a little thinner than other kids, maybe. Above average height. I mean, you know, you've seen me. I'm above average height, you know, but probably a little slighter than other kids. On an average, maybe. But I was strong. I mean, they would post like who can bench press what and all that stuff. I wasn't super strong, like you know, like 400 pounds or something. But I was like stronger than a lot of kids, and people are always like surprised how strong I was compared to how I looked, because I didn't look like much, right? I didn't
Well,
look
how
like
did you feel? How did you feel about things that were traditionally supposed to be for, this is where I started fighting back. Things that were supposed to be for boys. Because like when I wanted to, we had a kitchen in our basement. That's where I did all my baking for my business. Because my 5 nieces would come for the summer and stay with us every year, and they were my sales force. And so I remember at first I had some pushback from family members and people in the neighborhood that, why are they letting him cook? Even though at that time the top chefs in the world were men.
Yeah.
Galloping Gourmet was on television, right? Things like that. Well, so was Julia Child at the time, but Galloping Gourmet preceded her. And most chefs were men that would come out of kitchens, but somehow they had a problem with a boy with an apron on cooking in the basement, you know. And that's when I started challenging things. And even though I loved playing with my Johnny Lightning set and all my boy toys, I remember distinctly, I know what I said. I think I was like 8 turning 9 when they asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And I said, because I was already planning my business. So I said, I want an easy bake oven, because I thought I was going to have to earn my way to the real kitchen downstairs. And never was I going to be allowed to do my stuff upstairs in the real kitchen. So I was thinking that would be how I would trick them into it. And then to my chagrin, imagine my chagrin. Here comes part 2 of that. When they had the unmitigated gall You never get to say either one of those, so I just had to get them in. The unmitigated gall to tell me boys don't get easy bake ovens. And I was like, based on what data? The fact that there's a little girl in the commercial, and that's really what they went with. Yeah. And I did not get the easy bake oven, and I refused to play with any of my toys that I got that year, because I was protesting, and I knew that would get their attention. And they finally did. I think it was for my birthday, which is in the middle of summer, July 4th. So even though I didn't get it December 25th, I did get it the next July 4th. I got my easy bake oven, and that was a huge victory for me.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. So, I didn't, and the interesting part was because at the time, I was putting the clothespins and playing cards on the spokes of my bike, just like all the other boys. I had my banana seat, just like all the boys. I was, popping wheelies and riding them, just like all the boys. But I also, when I wanted to cook and do the things that I still do today, I did them, and I did not realize how mean people could be until then. Only girls cook. And I was like, well, how come your dad was barbecuing just last week? That's different. That's outside. That's what they would say.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't understand it. Those societal barriers that are placed on, just like look today. I have all kinds of pink clothes. Do you own anything pink?
I used to. I don't know that I have anything current, but I used to have more pink, and I got the same thing. But from some people, right? What are you wearing pink for? What does that mean, right? Like,
but the younger generations now, you go on the sites where they frequent for clothing and whatnot, and you'll see all kinds of stuff for guys, and you'll see big football players and stuff wearing pink, and I love when I see young parents who will put their toddlers or their little ones in any color. Because think about it, who got to say pink is for girls,
right? Yeah,
and blue is for boys? They could have said black is for girls, and orange is for boys.
Right. Yeah, it's all. I mean, whatever. We could break it down and say, well, it feels like a feminine color or whatever, all those ideas. But I mean, yeah, it's all a bunch of stories, like so many things that, that's the purpose of this program, is to help people realize like all these weird stereotypes. Why did we ever have these rules? All these different stereotypes that impact our mental health. Like, I wanted to be fully male, but I wanted to be fully feminine, to be honest, like all along. Like that's what I really wanted, but I never felt like I could do that. So I'm gonna I'll lift more weights than anybody, and if I need to, I never could lift as much as some people, but I always felt like it could transcend if I want to. If you force me, I'll lift as much weight as I need. I was of that mentality, and when I do go to the gym, I can go into another mode where, like, it's almost like you don't feel the weight anymore. Like you just transcend. And of course, I'm sure, my mind would have limit, but I always see this as I'm just playing a game with myself, everybody's playing a game with themselves as they go in there. Oh, this is weight. We're really pushing something. Like, well, what if you don't have the concept? Because we've all slipped the weights up at some point. We didn't realize it, right? And sometimes we notice and sometimes we don't, though, right? We put on an extra 20, 30 pounds or whatever on the thing, on the machine or something, all of a sudden, or 40 pounds or more. And all of a sudden you're like repping out and you look at like, whoa, I didn't realize I had that much on there, right?
No, that has not happened.
Definitely a lot of mental aspect to these things for sure. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And okay. I'll throw something in that's going to pivot everything now.
Sure.
And I know you remember this time because you lived in the era where remember when your mom had Sears and Penny's catalogs?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Totally.
And in those catalogs, they also had underwear sections.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
This
looking
is
through
just
those kids.
this is just like the big dictionary in the school library where everybody would go. You remember that big ass dictionary, and everybody would go to the dirty words, and kids wrote all in there. Remember?
Yeah,
Remember? Right. So that was a rite of passage. Well, so was the underwear sections of the Sears and Penny catalog. And I remember how, for me, one of the biggest differences in my world showed up when they found the pictures of my friends said, and I had torn out all the bra and panties, you know, because we were trying to hold them up to the window to see if we could see her boob. And you kind of see some areola, you know. Is that a nipple? We didn't know, you know. And then we wondered why, how come, and you see the panties, everything's all smooth. And even then, so then, of course, that's where you'd go with your male friends, with them the panty and but then when they go home, I go, well, let me go to the guys section too. And I'd go over there because I was trying to see, well, can you see anything there?
Right.
You know, because they don't show upstairs on guys. There's nothing to sell, but they showed from the middle of the belly down to the thigh. And I was like, why are those underwear? I look at my underwear and it wouldn't be all smooth like a cup, like it was in the, they show nothing. No outline of anything, right? And I was like, and even when it came to toys, no anatomically correct anything, right? So in my mind, so I said all that to set this up. I'll never forget when my mom found that first set of JCPenney bra and panties that we had ripped out. She was upset because I'm defaming her Sears catalog. They came in the mail back then, and I think they had to pay for them, right? So she was mad about that, but not nearly as mad as when she found the men's underwear pages from the Penny's catalog. Now, it wasn't even about tearing up. I'll never forget when I tore up. How dare you destroy? This isn't your property. It was nothing about you, pervert. What are you doing looking at panties and bra? No, because they thought it fell under the natural curiosity. But when she found the pictures of the men, you know, it couldn't been that I was curious. It was because you're sick. You're pervert. What kind of person tears out? What boy tears out? And then what was the next thing was everybody that would come to visit, she'd throw them on the table. Look.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And so that was the first big triggering traumatic experience that was of a not even sexual nature, because I wasn't tearing them out to masturbate or anything. I didn't even have a hair or anything. You know, nothing. It wasn't even a thing yet. I didn't even know you could do that yet. You know, but nonetheless, it was a shaming thing. And then again, in my second foster home, I'll never forget it, a very staunch Christian home. They found, we were 13 then, and they found an empty Boone's Farm bottle, and they found a Playboy magazine. And Playboy wasn't even the good stuff back then. That was, you know, and they confiscated it, said a little bit about it, but we were like 4 weeks away from Thanksgiving. And they never said anything else about it until everybody in their family was at this dinner. And I'm at the kids' table at 13. I'm at the kids' table. And then they say, oh, come up here first. Stand here. And then there was the thing. I thought it was a turkey or something underneath the big old silver thing. And they lifted the top off. And there was that Playboy magazine in that empty bottle. And the father looked at me and said, yeah. Some people here like to, and there was a church pamphlet. There was the bottle, there was the Playboy magazine, and there was a church pamphlet they put there that said, why God doesn't want me to touch myself.
Oh my gosh.
And like 15 people looked at it and then looked at me.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
So,
yeah.
Is it any wonder that I did not experience, when it came to mental health, my mental health was totally shot as far as exploring human sexuality and girls or boys or anything for about a decade and a half after that.
Wow.
Because it was just such a shaming experience for me. Yeah. So yeah, that really happened.
Gosh, that's pretty dramatic. I mean, like story. Like wow, that's like something we see in the movies. Yo, I gotta say
Why
that about
God
your life,
doesn't want
Dr.
me to
Loren.
touch myself.
Your life, absolutely. Like I've said before, it needs to be a movie. I mean, it's there's so much, so many stories, so many different things you've experienced. You know, we need multiple shows to be able to cover it all. But like, there's so many things, you know, like that.
Yeah.
That like what that happened, right?
That happened.
That's
I'll
crazy.
tell you something. You know what I remember from that moment more than anything? Two things. I remember for the second time in my life, everybody in the room went and looked at me. And then this time, because I was hitting puberty, I was so embarrassed, so humiliated that I remember literally feeling perspiration run down the inside of my arms.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that was that was horrible. Yeah. Yeah. So that stuff too, because that was another thing. It was like, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't win for losing, because it was like, okay, this is worse than when they found the underwear pictures from Penny's and it was just, briefs, men in briefs. Here is females, good all-American boy stuff. And again, shame.
Right.
So, right. So I didn't question, I had stopped questioning whether something was right or wrong, or if it was in my best interest, or if it was healthy or unhealthy. And I was judging it by sick or not sick.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy or not crazy. And there wasn't much room in between those two when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, you were still, how old were you when that happened?
I was 13.
13. Okay.
I was 13. Yeah.
Yeah. That's around the time you start to get more inklings anyway. I mean, I know people that say they realize they're gay or whatever term you want to use, like when they were 5 or something, like really early, but usually it's around that age, right? Around the puberty, right? Of course.
Well, yeah, because your best friend is sitting across from you in 7th grade English, and all of a sudden the bell rings and you both stand up, and you got to put your books down there because he's got a spontaneous erection from Miss Benson, the old ass 30-year-old teacher. You know what I mean?
Old
30-year-old, right? That old granny, right? He got an erection from looking at that 30-year-old granny, and I got an erection from looking out at that 7th grader that's running the track right there, named Brian. You see what I'm saying? Oh, I chose my husband's name. How sweet is that? See, he ruined me for all other names.
Because of that Brian back in 7th grade or whatever.
So, and I mean, I had to put my books down there, but what the point of that analogy, that hypothesis, because I made it up, but it's true. I started to realize then that I had friends who, because we were talking about it, dude, did you just pop a boner? You know what I mean? For what? It's the math teacher, and I can't help it. It happens, right? I didn't know until I stood up. But, and then to start asking or listening to the reasons why, and they didn't match your reasons why, you start and you combine them with those other traumatic experiences, it can really mess a brother up.
Boy, yeah.
And then I'm in foster care where some of everything happens. You get molested by other foster kids. You get molested by foster siblings, the kids who really live in that house and whose word the adults are going to take over yours. You get abused by foster parents in those houses, neighbors who know that they have foster kids, that no one's going to believe what one of those throwaway kids says. So you have a lot of stuff going on, and combine it to the fact that I would say 80% of the homes that I was in, and I was in 22 different homes, 80% of the homes were homes of color. So I was in there with other Black people. And in the Black culture, a lot of this kind of stuff that works, especially when it comes to mental health and abuse and trauma, nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
You know, and if they do, it's behind the hand, or there's something not so savory about it. It's almost, the proverbial "what happens in this house stays in this house" kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then you have that solidarity of being a foster kid, where if you see something happen to another kid and you can't go ratting, there's the pecking order, just like prisons and county jails, which I later found out, because it's all a big feeder system, that you don't want to be known as a person who, as they say, can't hold water. In other words, if you tell, life will be hell.
Yeah.
Snitches get stitches, kind of thing. And so there's no place to go. There's no one to ask. There was no internet for me back then. So what do? You listen to the voices. You see? So, I mean, I'm just hypothetically speaking, but I would assume that if you had an issue or something between two parents, you had someone you could take it to.
Yeah, usually in my case, it was my mom. I usually, like most families, is usually mom you go to for those type of things. Yeah.
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 And
now I will say, I mean, there's definitely a lot of, all teenagers, especially, like, but by choice, not by traumatization necessarily, but like, there are secrets that you hold. Like, I never told my parents I was being traumatized at school, that this big thing is happening for me. I never told anybody. I didn't talk to people about it. I was just carrying it on my own. This kid, he's after me. And he would show up in different ways. All right, let's fight after school. I'm like, yeah, I don't trust myself. I could go psycho mode on you. I ain't gonna fight anybody. I mean, I don't want to. And even when I got into a fighting situation, finally, like a real fight, one time, there's just one time, like when I was an adult, like 20 or whatever, like the kid was taking off his jacket and everything, and I just started praying to God, like, I just backed up and just stayed out of his way, and people stopped the fight. But I didn't want to fight because I just knew, like, this killer mode is inside of me, and I don't want to access that. I don't want to go there.
Oh, wow. And
yeah,
I was looking at you. I got to break away from looking at the camera over there to look at you on the screen. Am I still talking to the same? Did somebody come in?
See, I am in my green today. See?
Well, I just know one thing. You won't worry about me in person, pushing you into Hulkamania.
So, but this is like all these so for me, I had it in a different way. I'm not trying to equivocate the two, but I'm just saying, like, I was carrying a secret. Like, I had killer thoughts. Like, I'll kill people. I'll kill people. Like, I'm just constantly thoughts like that would come to me, like, because I was just in a protective based on what my testosterone is, once it got measured, like even recently, I know must have been through the roof back then. Like, it's on the higher side. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a lot of tension, right? And I'm just carrying this. And outside of, maybe my friends kind of knew about it because they could see it on me, right? And I would talk about it a little tiny bit, but nobody really knew. So it's like, yeah, I can't tell anybody these things, or I'm gonna, the think I'm absolutely nuts, or to think that there's something really wrong with me, like some of the insane thoughts that were going through my mind, because I was so, I don't know, I didn't know where to go with all that energy. Like, something, I felt not protected, I guess, or I felt like I had access to an energy I wanted to express. I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I can relate to that aspect. The rest, absolutely not. Like, everything, like, so many things like you were dealing with specifically, like, yeah, no. But I pretty much, like, I think I'm kind of the average from my age, like back at that time, like, yeah, when guys have problems, we don't go to talk to anybody about it for the most part. These days,
No,
do like a lot of, I mean, it's still there, that
it's
issue.
available.
Yeah, it's still there. The issues, like guys will still say boys don't cry and everything. But you know, especially back then in the what 70s, 80s when I was growing up, like, no, I mean, this idea, like I'm dealing with all this stuff, like you didn't talk about it too much. I mean, I did talk. I remember as I got older, you know, later in my teens, high school, college age more so probably, but I started getting to the kitchen table. My mom would always talk to me about stuff, and I would say, "Yeah, this is how I'm feeling." I'd tell her some stuff, but there's always these secrets, things, the shadow box, they call it sometimes, right? And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of, so I'm trying to make your story a little bit relatable at the same time, because we all carry these stories, even though what you experience is like beyond what anybody really could imagine, most people could imagine.
Right.
It's, you know, there is some aspect where we can kind of, you know, relate a little tiny bit in our own ways of, no, you can't, there's nowhere to go, there's no one to talk to, there's nothing's good, you know, all those types of things. So all I can say is that I'm glad you persevered, you know, that something, you know, that you did. One of the things that seemed to happen for you is you talked about the voices. Now, the voices, tell us more about the voices. I want to hear a little bit about that. So you had the voices. What are the voices? You said the voices then start to take over.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know a lot of people. Shut up. I'm trying to explain something here. I don't know what people think about hearing voice. I'm kidding. I didn't.
Yeah.
And I looked at you and you're like, I see this all day, every day. Go right ahead. Go on.
Right. Yeah. It's just all part
No
of it.
one's judging you. If you heard them, we did too. Right. So anyway,
Yeah.
when I say the voices, what I mean is I know for a fact, and I include this gift, this divine gift, because I still have it, of spiritual clarity. It's not like crazy hear voices. It's divinely
Mhm.
heard voices, because I was interacting with more than just myself. So that I know to be true. That, because I'm gonna tell you something. I don't care what people think. I still tell it this way from the stage now. Every time they dropped me off at a new foster home, they'd inevitably, I'd be there. It'd be me and the caseworker in front of the family or whoever was doing the intake. And sometimes it's some of the kids, sometimes none of the kids. They told them to stay outside, or it's early and they're at school or whatever. But every time they would want to just be alone, like, okay, go unpack your things. They'd show me the room or whatever. And I would sneak back to where I could hear or watch the
Mhm.
caseworker and the family person or people. And every time, every single time, the caseworker would say, and I had a lot of different caseworkers over the years, they'd say, oh, he's a great boy. And he goes to public school. He's not behind, like a lot of the kids in the system are remedial. He's smart, da 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 da, witty, and he's kind, and da 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 da. However,
Mhm.
if you should come up upon him and he's alone somewhere, and you hear him having this really powerful conversation, and you see no one there but him,
Mhm.
don't get alarmed. Let's just put it this way: he has a lot of imaginary friends. And
Mhm.
at that point, I would go,
It's
and
sort of true
I'd
in a
be wanting to
way.
laugh. I'd want to laugh out loud, but I'd look at my angels, the
Yeah.
three that were always with me, and they'd be going, and I'd be like saying, like, think you're fake, right?
Yeah, that's the funny
And
part about it. Yeah.
well, and the thing about it is, as I got older, woo-woo,
Mhm.
spiritualism really wasn't a thing then.
Mhm.
We're talking, it's 77, 78, 79. I graduated high school at 80, and I was 17. So this is early.
Mhm.
And I remember even then, so I have my sexuality secrets. but I also have my spirituality secrets.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to people about these things that I knew to be true, these things that spoke to my divine gifts and to the reality of who I am and why I am. And so, again, that's another thing. And when we talk about men's issues, that's the reason why even today you can go on LinkedIn, or if you like, my show is 5 days a week, shameless plug coming up. 3, 2, 1. Bathroom Moments, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central. So, but I have had so many guests on my show who specialize in whatever it is they're doing, some type of healing or coaching or consultant. They specialize in working with women, a lot of them. Not unusual, but it is unusual when I find someone who says, I specialize working with men. It's 1 to 5, 1 to 10, as far as the ratio. So that speaks to the fact that not a lot of men talk to other men. And I'll say this, I've gone to some retreats. I've been on a virtual thing with just guys, and it's rare that, and as a gay male, I can tell you, because we can get emotional when I'm around a bunch of LGBTQ men or bisexual men who are in there that are not afraid to show their emotions. It's a lot different than I am with my heterosexual counterparts, males. They pretend like, a lot of them will pretend like they're being vulnerable.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
and they're not. They're vulnerable to a certain extent.
Right. They'll go so far. Yeah.
But then let one of them, somebody really cross the vulnerable line, and then everybody, oh, brother, come here, brother. Yeah, oh yeah, I take care of you. But look what they're doing when they're giving them that. I feel you, brother. Look what they're doing. Macho, machismo, patronizing pat you, so you don't think I'm trying to feel on your ass, because I'm just holding you with no movement, or I'm not doing this a caress. I don't want you to think I'm feeling you up.
Yeah.
Little subtleties like that. When a woman, if I'm having a moment and a woman gets up and she comes over, you need a hug. She's more adept to doing this and comfortable and holding it, or even telling you, no, not that side. Let's get our hearts together. Let's put heart to heart. Women, guys usually, oh, come here, bro. Yeah, oh, it's okay, man.
Right.
And a lot of people feel patronized when someone hugs you. And I tell people right out, don't pat me.
Right. Right. No,
get off me. What are you doing patting me while you, oh yeah, I love you. Sure you do.
Yeah. That's
so
funny.
I mean, there are so many layers to it. And that's why I really love people like you, and this work that you do, giving us all the opportunity.
Yeah.
Giving us all the opportunity to just speak our own truths. But let me ask you, reader. Just kidding. No, seriously, as a heterosexual man, or one who identifies as he, him, his, let's put it that way, covering all the points.
Sure.
Do you ever feel like you need to stay within a border, a perimeter, so people don't think the wrong thing about you? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I hug this guy and I just hug him and I just hold him and squeeze it, I don't want him thinking I'm like, look, dude, it ain't that kind of a party.
Yeah, I think it depends on the context. If I'm in a spiritual circle with any type of people, I don't think I have a whole lot of, probably some in the subconscious, but I'm not aware of any, guards as far as those things go. But if I'm in a different context, I'm probably going to be thinking about that. Yeah.
So like you're
probably wouldn't even want to hug, I'm not going to even be thinking about it, right? I'm going to be,
hey, dude,
hey man, let's
fist pump you.
Hands. Yeah,
I'll fist pump you, but I ain't into that hugging shit. No, man.
So yeah, I mean, those walls are still there because, you don't know how it's going to be taken if you go like, whoa, it's what you'd be afraid of, right? Like, what's that, or whatever. It's so.
What about in conversation, Daniel? What about like when you find yourselves in male propelled, conversation where they're talking all inside of that thing, but they say something. It's like this. For instance, when I find myself in that position around a bunch of my white friends or friends other than black, other than a minority, and they forget that I'm black, and they'll say something that it smacks of some form of racism. And then I remind them, hey, we don't mean you, Loren.
Oh my God. I hate when people say like, I gotta say, I kind of dislike that a lot, like passionately. Like,
so you get what I'm saying, where you find yourself like you're in a conversation with guys or in a situation, and you feel like you have to go with the flow with the crowd. Like,
oh yeah,
I hear you. You find yourself agreeing where really deep down inside you wish you would have taken the high road and say, man, that's kind of shitty.
Right.
What you just said is
women, with men and women.
With men and women. Okay, perfect. So what do when you find yourself butted up against that opportunity?
You make two choices, and I'm not consistent yet. Sometimes I'll say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And I'll flesh it out, and I'll try to do it in a nice way sometimes, and sometimes I get a little tougher than that, right? And then other times I think I just agree. I'm just like, yeah. I remember being at the gym talking to, I think I mentioned this maybe to you before, but who knows who I tell all these stories to.
Who knows?
When I was working out, this is several years ago now, but I was talking to this guy who was from Germany, older guy, really out of shape, really. And I was talking to him, and we always had these friendly conversations about whatever, right? We just talk, hey, the usual stuff at the gym, right? So I have these friendly conversations with him. And one day he's telling me, he's an older guy. So I always find that the older guys, especially, want to tell you all the big stories, right? So I don't consider you so much the older guy, even though you keep telling me you're so much older than me. But anyway, yeah. You're like, I don't see you as an older guy personally.
Oh, but... so you went there.
Yeah, I did go there.
Okay. All right. Oh my God. I guess that's some of that I'll rip him to shreds kind of guy in all of us. Meet me out back after the show. Meet me out. I'll tell you the bits, man. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just find that is true by a lot of people sometimes. Not all. Okay, it is.
Okay, so this guy in the locker room, though.
Bottom line, this guy was talking stuff about, the wars, Hitler, this, that, and the other. And then what happened after that is this, and then the blacks came in, or where, like, he starts talking about the blacks, and they caused all the problems, and others, and I'm like, I wouldn't allow my eyes to do it, but my eyes wanted to pop out of my head because I'm not used to talking to people that have those beliefs.
Exactly.
And if they have any of that,
because they think it's comfortable. I know he's one of us. So it's comfortable for me to talk freely.
Oh, right. Somehow, because I was agreeing with other things that he's like, it's on the same wavelength, right? Okay, now we can go here now, right? And then I was just like, I just started getting really flat with him. And then I just try to dismiss him as fast as possible. And then I never talked to him again, of course. I was just like, okay, I'm not talking to him anymore. But I was so blown away that I was in that situation. So in that case, I had a choice maybe to say, hey, man, what are you talking about? Don't talk like that, or what? But I was just like, he's not going to change his mind. He just is where he is. I'm just going to let him go. I'm not going to chastise him. I'm not going to go there. So it's tricky to know how to handle different situations like that.
It is. And I'm going to bring one up because I need your opinion on it. Okay, here we go. Here's a scenario. This past summer that just went by, Brian and I went to a good friend, one of my best friend's weddings. Both of them, the husband and wife, the bride and the groom, great friends. A lot of the people there we consider family. We went, and I've been around most of these people a lot for different things. So anyway, it's they have a day at the beach the day after the wedding, and we're all out there. And the guy who performed the ceremony, the minister, was there with his whole family, and they're off to the side underneath their own little canopy and whatnot, like a little tent up there, just them, just sitting there. And I kept seeing all these people out in the water all day long, back and forth, and I find out, oh, he's baptizing folks out there. And of course, coming from a staunch cray religion bordering on cult, like, okay, Seventh-day Adventist. That's what I grew up as. I'm like, and been baptized in that faith twice. Once as a kid, and once again as an adult, trying to get redemption, so I didn't burn, and so I'm like, I bet you they don't see my ass out there. And then out of nowhere, I'm minding my own business, I get the download. Go over there and tell Jason, that's my friend who was getting married, that you want to get baptized. And I was like, tell Jason what? I don't think so, but obedience. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be about something else. So I go to Brian. I go, you ain't gonna believe what they just told me to go do. He was like, what? They told me to go tell Jason I want to be baptized by Pastor Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
You do? And so I said, okay, I'm just do it. So I went, I told, great. It's what Jason said. Come on out. Come to the water. I'll go tell him. And so he went and told him, but he must have told him there's someone else. There's another one who wants to be baptized, but didn't tell him who.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out there, and Jason swims out to where Pastor Rudy is. And I'm there, and there's all these people who have already been participating in all these other baptisms. Hey, you want us to hold your this, hold your that? Here, give us your hat. Da, 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 da. And they're taking pictures of it from the. So Brian's coming with me. He's right behind me in the water. And I look out and I see Jason turning around and walk swimming towards me. And I can tell, because I've known him for 10 years, I can tell the look on his face. And the minute I saw the look, I got the download. Let him off the hook. And I turned around and I told Brian, go back. I changed my mind. What? I said, yeah, go get my stuff back from them and tell them they can go on about their business, the people waiting there, to save him face. And he comes closer and I said, you don't have to tell me. I've already been told. He's like, dude, brother, he had no idea that the person that he and his wife, now wife, had chosen to start their new life through was a bigot. I can't baptize him. He's gay. Did not know. And I saw it on his face.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, and how does that tie into what we're here for? Because he is like a brother to me. He's coming to Power of We Symposium here in Chicago, as he always does. His wife too, Emily. Now, it has been an elephant in the room since that day. I mean, we went on, we stayed, this and the other, and da-da-da-da. But I'll tell you why it's an elephant in the room, because just a couple of weeks ago, I was scrolling through my Facebook, and there's Pastor Rudy on Jason's stuff. And because I went right back, ordinarily I'd have liked or loved, even shared from time to time, or at a minimum, turned on the volume and listened to what they were talking. Not this time. Because of that experience, I was like, matter of fact, I hit the X, get this off my feed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, this is unresolved. Yeah. And so again, it brings me back to what we're here about. This thing about, I don't know how to bring into conversation with Jason. Hey man, you know that shit with Pastor Rudy.
Yeah, you're good.
A call came in. I forgot to put it on that do not disturb. Sorry. Okay. I forgot. I need to tell him, dude, you popped up. Pastor Rudy popped up on my feed coming through you, and I X'd it. I didn't just swipe past it. I literally removed it. I think we still have unresolved issues about that day at your wedding to talk about. And so a lot of people would think that that falls into the genre of church and state. Don't talk about religion or politics. Boom, boom, boom. But I need him to know that for my own mental health and my own mental wealth, I want to hear how you truly feel about what happened. Was it something right? And what have you done with that knowledge that this person feels that way? Are you doing anything to change them to become better people as far as this one thing or not? Because in my mind, I always feel like if he's not willing to do that, am I willing to pour more into furthering the nurturing of our relationship? Because now I know a new person I did not know before that day, you. So I just thought I'd throw that out, and maybe you can help me with that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, wow. So for me, I think the way I see it is that you're doing the right thing if you do talk about it, because if you actually really love and care about this person overall in your life, is really one of your peeps in your life, then you would want to bring it up. And if I mean, if he really cares about you, it'll be like, thank you for bringing it up, is what I would think, rather than something else. That which would be interesting if there was a reaction in another way, like discounting it or trying to act like it's not real or somehow or something.
Do I have the right, Daniel, to expect him to try to change Pastor Rudy into someone other than who Pastor Rudy is? Or, you know what I mean? It's dicey.
I don't think that it's incumbent upon you to have that expectation of him to do that. Yeah, I don't think that is your business. I think it is your business to talk about it, though, and to see where it goes from there. With loving intent. Like, we know, like anybody that has those beliefs, it's just based on their own conditioning, their own stuff, right? That came from somewhere, right? So holding in that loving grace, realizing, okay, that's just where they're at. I hold them in this loving grace, and but I want to talk to my friend about it, because it's very disturbing to me that this is somebody he really is into. I mean, he's following. I mean,
well,
so
he has as solid a relationship, if not more so, with Pastor Rudy. I mean, I think I was in his life first, but you know what I'm saying? You don't quantify or qualify where your seat is in someone's life. It's just there. But I feel kind of not authentic if I don't bring this up. If it feels like a splinter in my finger of this relationship, I keep squeezing it because I want it out.
Yeah, but we've got to bring these things up with people that we care about, like that. When if something like that comes up, we have to talk about it, in my opinion. So yeah,
if nothing else, so that they respect boundaries and don't invite me into a situation
right
where that I can be left feeling this way, and I can do the same for you. I think at a minimum, that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah, because you were invited there. This happened there through somebody, that
they invited there, just like they invited, and they gave us both big roles in their wedding.
Right.
He married him. I spoke at the reception.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness. Yeah, totally, Loren. I mean, you totally, I mean, that's totally something you should be talking about completely.
And so here we are as men again. Women would be like, hey, Gwendolyn, can I take you to lunch? Or like, we need a spa day. They find a way to create the perfect storm. You know what I mean? Where they can talk about something. Whereas we dismiss it. I find myself wanting to talk about it, but easy to me to sweep it underneath the rug and say, is it really worth it?
Yeah. What could it jeopardize or risk, and all those ideas? But it's like we have to be willing to be faithful to what our heart is telling us to do in a situation, even if it's like, well, I don't know what this is going to, what issues this could create.
Will this change this relationship forever?
I think it'll be, my feeling is Yeah, I think it's going to be really positive ultimately. I think it'll be really positive.
Are you saying that to me?
Yeah, I think it's good.
So
I
you're
mean,
getting a download?
yeah, I think it's going to be really positive. I think it'll be really,
Okay.
really. Now, it may not go the way you would like it to go ultimately,
But
from
in
your
the end,
mental, emotional perspective, but I think it'll be really positive, and I think he'll be receptive. Also, I really do. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I have on it.
Well, no. And I want to ask you this too. Did you find you because I'm a veteran, so I
Mm.
do a lot of work with veterans, and I have a lot of friends that are veterans, and da 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 da. So of course, the subject of PTSD
Hmm.
comes up a lot as far as mental health and whatnot. And I find that like PTSD is easier for men to talk about with each other than say military sexual trauma.
Hmm.
Because usually when people think of military sexual trauma, and I'm 70% service connected because of military sexual trauma.
Mm.
And I didn't even know it was a thing until 3 years ago. And
Mm.
I've been out of the service since the 80s.
Hmm.
They read it in my file, and because it's easier to talk about today, it was identified. This situation here was totally mishandled. You're the victim here. And I'm like, what? And they asked me, tell us about it, because they wanted to see if my recollection 40 years later matched up what the record said from 40 years ago.
Mm.
And when she said she laid the two next to each other, they were almost word for word.
Mm.
And she goes, and I doubt very seriously that you've been practicing this.
Right.
You should be service connected. This happened to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And it just made me think. And then I was telling you that I go on those outings with my Air Force roommate. Dave told me in our second outing a couple years ago, we went to the Ozarks. He
Mm-hmm.
said, I finally got the courage to say this because we've been reunited after like 25 years. And he goes, I'm so sorry about the way you were treated in the military when we were roommates. It was horrible the way they treated you. And I don't remember it like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then this other thing happened where they were like, yeah, it happened and you should be. And I got it. I was made 70% service connected all these years later. And so what I'm getting at is this, it's just, why is it that, because like military sexual trauma, MST, most people would assume that it's a woman because it's more men than women there. And of course, it was a woman who out there deployed with all those men. And so she was the one that was raped or whatever. No, it wasn't in wartime. It was right on a regular stateside base. And no, it wasn't a woman. It was me.
Mm-hmm.
And just even saying it right here, right now, feels a little awkward, you know.
Right.
But in order to get to the point where 6 years from now, or 6 months from now, or 6 hours from now, it's not as awkward, I have to deal with the awkwardness of the moment
Right.
to help ensure that it will one day be not awkward at all for someone else, perhaps. So that's what I'm getting at. And I don't know what people do or what we can do to help facilitate this openness that we should desire if we don't already.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that opportunities like this one feed the need
Mm-hmm.
of doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And for now, I'll take it.
Yes, totally. I'm glad you shared that. Wow, because that's not even something most people have heard about. That sort of experience in the military and whatnot. Like in terms of, like you said, with a guy, but it makes complete sense. I'm sure.
Happens a lot.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it happens a lot. This is gonna be my next thing, but yeah, I would imagine that would be true. So, that's why I'm doing these shows with guys, because it's my own personal journey of development and healing and whatnot. But it's also for the people that come on, the people who are listening, for all of us as guys to
Yeah.
be able to find the place to be able to be more vulnerable. And I need to wrap up real soon here, but like,
I was going to tell you, my phone just went to 5%.
Okay, real quick. So I just have a client just the other day. He said he put out an email, and I kept telling him he needs to be more vulnerable, and he's doing well in his business, but it's one area he could do better in, one of the areas. And he did a vulnerable kind of email, and he was just, his inner critic was like, it was a horrible post, and it was a horrible email. It's a bad email. You did a horrible job. He's getting like all this love, all this good response from people. And so what he's seeing in it is like, no, you're just afraid to be vulnerable. That's why your critic's going crazy, because you feel like now, wow, now they could get at you, and all that stuff. But anyway,
now you gave them something to work with.
Yeah. I mean, now you can see like it's not only safe, but now he has evidence of what I've been telling him all along. No, it's going to connect you with your audience more, right? So anyhow, I appreciate you coming on and having this chat with me and sharing so much. And I'm always grateful to be with you. And anything else you want to say real quick for people to check you out or anything? And yeah.
No, I mean, all of my social media is all just Loren Michaels Harris. Find that, Google that name, and you'll find the full body of my work. And that's really what I like people to do. Instead of saying, oh, go to my Instagram or go to my this or that. No, Google me. And have that opportunity to be baptized into the full body of the word. Because you may find something there that is a hole that something in your journey can fill. And then you might simultaneously see something that my journey can help fill as far as a hole in your world. So purpose is a two-way feed at all times. And so just Google me, and I would love to learn from any of you. Anything that you feel that you would have to teach me, and vice versa. So that's what I like. And Bathrobe Moments, my show, Monday through Friday on the Trajectory TV network or E316. You can find that all over Facebook. Just Google. You'll find
That's a great show. I've been on it twice now.
I know. And you're going to be on a lot more this year. at least one or two more times this year.
Awesome. I'm excited. And yeah, you're going to see lots of, he's impacted millions of people's lives. He's an amazing speaker, and you'll find all that online too, I'm sure. Now, anyway, such an honor to have you on today, Dr. Loren. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm going to hold you to it. We need an outing. We need to do something together.
That's it.
Face to face. I miss you.
Yeah. And I'll hold you to it too. All right, we're done.
All right, Daniel.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And thank all of you all. Thank you.
Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.